Live. We are live. Welcome to the AgioCast channel. My name is, Professor Ruff. I go by Professor Ruff on this channel, and I have my friend who wishes to not be seen on camera, but she has some good questions to ask me about my terminal slash doctoral degree journey. The reason why we're having this discussion is not only centered around terminal degree or doctoral journey, or I am not trying to convince people to go into that kind of journey or embark on that kind of monumental task. It's more the things is more centered around on focus, commitment, and dedication because these are the things you need when you go into uh or when you undertake a monumental task like a doctorate studies or you it's pretty much a journey, so you need focus, commitment, and dedication. Okay, and I am here to share my experience, and Jewel, who is my guest, will be interviewing me to extract some of my personal experiences, perspectives, and insights. So I am going to give the reins of control to Joel so she can kick off this interview. But before you kick off this interview, Joel, just um, give a light intro on what you plan or what you basically strive to um, gain or what you're trying to do with this interview. What you seek to gain or what you seek to exploit with the answers to your interview questions, something like that. So anyway, go ahead, Joe.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Professor Ruff. What an honor to be invited as a guest on your show. So, thank you so much. I feel like there's so many young people out there. Actually, there could be older people as well that are considering going back to school and they just may feel like it's not possible. They may have babies, jobs, and life. Life just happens. And they feel like it's not possible. And, it's just an honor to be able to meet someone that's deciding to begin the terminal degree journey, or you're not even just beginning it, you're actually like
I'm at the end.
at the end, right?
I'm
So,
trying to graduate. Yes.
exactly. So,
Mhm.
like, the purpose of these questions will be to encourage someone um, that they can go back to school. It is possible. And not only to find inspiration in the textbook, they may find inspiration in a task that they may feel is impossible, but using some of the tactics and some of the tenacity that you're going to be sharing this evening may be empowerment to someone that's on the fence regarding a major decision.
Right. I am ready for you to kickstart this stuff up. I'm ready to share some of my perspectives. I hope this um, insight will be somebody who can use this to light that fire in their belly and whatever commitments and whatever goals you guys are undertaking in your personal journeys. You can learn one or two lessons from our discussion. All right, I'm ready.
All right. So Professor Ruff, no pun intended with the name,
Yeah, yeah,
deciding to begin the terminal degree journey is huge. It's
yeah.
a major decision. If you can just share with us what has been your inspiration to begin this journey. That's one part of the question. And the second part of the question is, how did you decide on the PhD versus MD versus JD?
All right. Thank you for your question. The question you just asked me was basically the questions that were asked when I attended my first residency program at Grand Canyon University in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. That's where my institution, my doctorate college is located at. Um, and it's because everybody had to share a personal story on the reasons why they embarked on. a terminal degree like a PhD, doctorate of education, or doctorate of business administration, or doctor of psychology. My specific field is in doctorate of education, so it's the same thing like a PhD, but it's actually called EDD. And my field is in organizational leadership with emphasis in healthcare administration. As you know me. I work in the VA healthcare system. Prior to the VA healthcare system, I worked as a hospital corpsman in naval hospitals, naval clinics, and naval reserve medical departments where I oversaw um, limited light duty and light duty injuries and basically managing injuries of reservists that went on deployment or try to get them ready for deployment. So I've
Mm,
always been in some sort of healthcare field. Now,
okay.
going back to your question, your first question, I've always wanted to have a PhD since I was 10 years old. That was beaten in me by my father. My father had his PhD at the age of 32. I'm 40 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had his PhD and masters in one swoop, and
Mm,
he was 32 when he had it. Um, he inspired me one day, and this is the story that I told in the residency program.
mm,
My fellow classmate and my best friend in Atlanta. If he was on this call, he would tell you that he will tell you the same story that I'm telling you right now. Um, my father has always been hinting that my father is an academician. He's a professor in
mm.
Nigeria. He's held many roles, international and national.
Oh, wow.
He's renowned. I'm proud of his accomplishments.
Mm,
Um, his background is in economics. Um,
mm.
um, At one point, not to brag, he was the economic advisor to the vice president of Nigeria in the Jonathan administration. Let me just put it out there. He did that
Wow.
stuff. People know is known. So
Wow.
he's reached his academic height. One thing in my family, everybody's educated. Everybody has at least a bachelor's.
That's
Me
a
and my sibling.
blessing.
Yeah. My sister, she's out here in California, and she holds a bachelor degree in petroleum engineering. She was an engineer, and she had to come when she came to the United States. She had to start all over in a new field, but I'm not going to talk about that. So I'm digressing a little bit. So
No,
my
it's
father,
okay.
yeah. So my father, he's been saying it that hey, somebody needs to replace him as a PhD holder in the house. And African parents are different, man. Um, they're really different. They hold us, the kids, to really high standards. Sometimes some of these standards are unrealistic, regardless of the kids' interest. Initially, my father wanted me to become an engineer, like most of my peers or my friends and classmates that I was growing up with. I didn't have the the interest for maths and physics, and I hated chemistry because of my teacher at the time. No, I was doing good in chemistry, but physics not so much. For some reason, I couldn't comprehend physics that very well. I knew certain things about physics, but it was boring. I didn't like
Mhm.
uh, the some of the subjects, and anyway, and I didn't even know what I was gonna do. So he kept saying. One day he came home inebriated. He was inebriated as hell, and he was calling me, "You're the first son, and you're gonna be in charge when I go away." And he was saying all this deep stuff, and he's like, "Somebody needs to replace me as the PhD holder," and that's the exact story I said in the residency program, and
Wow.
he ingrained that in my head. But
Mm,
fast forward, because I really don't want to go into that piece of the story. Fast forward, I've always told myself before moving back to the United States as an adult, because I was raised in Nigeria. I was raised in Nigeria, right? Even though I was born here, my parents took us back, and I was raised in Nigeria, and then I came back. One of the goals was I was gonna get my PhD. I was gonna get an American degree. I had a bachelor's in geography and environmental management from University of Port Harcourt, Port Harcourt, River State, Nigeria. Came with that degree and I couldn't use it. I joined the military. I couldn't even use it in the military. I basically had to start from beginning with high schoolers and work my way up and
Mm,
use that advantage to get into a master degree program. But I didn't know what I was going to do prior to that. So
mm,
I knew I was going to get a PhD, but the first thing I had to do is to get my master's to solidify myself so I can compete in America. America is all about
mm,
competition. And I didn't know how I was going to go about that. Then I joined the military. And the main purpose I joined the military was to go get a master degree. I didn't intend to do 20 years in the military. I was going to do 4. But I ended up re-enlisting and ended up doing 7 years, up closely
oh,
to 7 years. I was gonna do 20, but things happen, personal stuff, which I will explain in a different podcast. Um, Life happened to me, decisions were made, my course of journey turned, and how I got into healthcare was through the military, and I didn't even know I was gonna end up in healthcare. Filipino friend of mine who was a hospital corpsman, a Navy hospital corpsman, we were on deployment in the Middle East, and I was a deck seaman on designated in the Navy. I didn't have a specialty, so basically I was a helping hand on the ship, just doing being bossed around like a you know anyway. But anyway, I was bossed around, and I didn't get no respect. I couldn't advance in rank because I didn't have no specialty. So I stayed in the same rank for 2 years,
mm,
even though I was smarter than most of the people on my ship. And I'm not even trying to
wow.
brag. That's a fact. And
Mm,
so I ended up becoming a hospital corpsman due to that guy. He inspired me. He brought me to taught me his Ht1, who is now a senior chief. I think he's still active. He's a senior chief, or if not the master chief right now. Um, Allowed me to learn, and I was able to go back to Chicago to the Navy base in Chicago, retrain as a hospital corpsman, and I ended up being in
wow.
naval medicine, being in the healthcare field. So
Oh,
I'm in the healthcare field, and I seen my captain, my captain, commander. I don't know if he's still a commander. I think I don't know if he's a captain now. I think he has elevated, but let me be safe and say a captain because I don't know. I think he may have been promoted. Captain Doug Stevens. I'm still in touch with that man today. He's like a big. He's almost like he's not. I don't see him as a father figure. I see him like a
a
big mentor in my
mentor.
life. Yeah. And by the way, he's white. He's white. Let me put it out there. Good guy. Always had my back. He's written most of my
References.
references letter, and he gets calls. He says nothing but good things about me. To this very day, I follow him on Facebook. I watch his timeline. He's doing well. Um, I saw his leadership. He was the commander then in our clinic, and the way he was running the clinic that inspired me to going into healthcare administration.
Um,
So I was a E3. I think I was a E4 petty officer third class when I started my masters. I was able to convert my Nigerian degree to equalize it to American standard, and I was able to use that um, um, what's it called? That conversion to get into, guess what, University of Maryland, University College. They were known, that was the name back then, but now
mhm.
they're known as University of Maryland Global Campus, UMGC.
Okay.
They've changed their name, so they're part of the Maryland education higher education system. And I was doing my master's as an E4, and and in the moment, then I think I graduated as an E5. Then I was in San Diego in my third uh, duty station because I went to Guam from Seattle. This was in Seattle. I left Seattle to Guam,
Wow.
and then you know, due to some things with my then ex-wife, we came back stateside, and I got stationed in San Diego, and a whole lot of things happened. But I graduated with my master's while I was in E5. Um, the military, I was unhappy with the military, with the things that was going on with my then marriage, and everything was just falling out of place. And I needed my sanity and needed to, keep my benefits. So I went ahead and completed my contract, and I didn't want to re-enlist no more, and I decided to take my chances in civilian world. So I did that, and in the back of my mind, I already have a master's now, so I'm thinking I need to do a PhD. But back then, I was still going through marital issues, and I
Mm.
couldn't. There's no way I'm going to, going to handle both.
Be able to
Eh,
handle all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this was in 2013, and I didn't know if I wanted to do it, and if I had the brains for it. I doubted my abilities. So I kept telling myself, what, I have a master's. Do I need to get a PhD just to because my father said something to me when I was 11 years old?
Mm.
But deep down, I knew that if I don't do it, when I get to old age, and if I ever get to old age, I will kind of regret that deep down. But I kept trying to find reasons for not doing it. So there's this lady called Jennifer. I went to different university, but I went to GCU and I put in my information. So she calls me twice a year to check if
Wow.
I was still interested in doing my PhD. And I'll tell her, like, no, I'm not interested. I don't think I have the brains for it. Maybe check back next time. She called me twice a year for
Wow.
5 years.
Oh my
For five
goodness.
years,
5 years.
yes, yes. Then I I got out of the military. I was starting all over again. Marriage went to pieces, whatever, and I moved to Boston, Massachusetts, the Boston area, Massachusetts. And I was going through a lot of deep depression. I had a lot of time, and I found that I was getting depressed all the time. So I needed to channel all that depression to somewhere.
Mm.
And something told me, okay, maybe this is the time to do your PhD. But I didn't have the confidence in myself to do it. Um, my first master degree, I struggled a little bit in the beginning. I had good grades, but I struggled in the beginning. So that kind of like scared me a little bit. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and get an MBA instead of a PhD. So I called my father. I'm like, Dad, I'm just gonna go ahead and do MBA. I don't think I have the brains for PhD. I know I wanted to replace you as the PhD holder of the house, but I don't know if I'm able to do that. He said, "Don't worry, son. Just do what you're comfortable." That he basically assured me.
Mm.
And I'm already talking
No,
17
it's
minutes.
good. Keep going.
Okay. So he basically assured me that he's proud of me, whatever, whatever. And the MBA program was a year program. It was one of the hardest program. But what that program did for me was to channel all that negative energy that I have during my separation, and I was going through a divorce. So I channeled all that into getting an MBA, and it was hard. It was tasking. MBA is a team. You have to work with other students, so they make it like a team like situation, and you're carrying most of the people's weight because people see you're the smartest and they don't want to do the work. And that
Mm.
left me, it made me resented school a lot. Like people used me, and they graduated with their MBA just as me, but I did the most of the work. So, but
Mm.
anyway, I was able to graduate with my MBA and I got two master degree. I'm like, you know what? I was lying to myself.
Two masters, you said.
Two master degrees. So I have a master degree in management, a master degree in management with specialty in healthcare administration. Then I went back and I got my MBA.
Wow.
So, in my mind, me having a two master degree, I tried to just tell myself that I don't need to do the PhD. I got two masters. And I called my father. My father like my father was like, you know what, you got two master degree. You don't even need to do the PhD. Two master degrees should be good for you, especially if you have an MBA. So that
Hmm.
kind of made me not want to do the PhD, and this was 2015.
Okay.
Me- Meanwhile, Jennifer is calling me twice a year. She's sending not only that she's calling me on my phone and leaving messages, she's also sending me emails too,
Mm.
because I get her emails. And in 2018, when I've ended up in fast forward 2018, I'm now in Las Vegas. I was obviously in Sacramento before moving down here. Um, I was going through another set of depression. We dealing with the ex-wife and custody issue, and my finances was all out of whack. I was owed the IRS some money, and they were coming after me. I owed the state of California some money. They were coming after me. A lot of things was going on. I had a lot of time on my hands. Um, I was out here looking for love because my then ex girlfriend in Boston, she reneged on our relationship without even telling me. I was just not um in the right space of mind, and I had all this time. And they said the idle mind is the devil's workshop. That's really true,
Mm.
really really true. And I looked at my age. I think I was about when I came out here to Vegas. I've been here 4 years now. I think I was about 36, 35, going on 36. And I looked at my age. I'm like, man, I'm on the verge of hitting 40. And then I met this Nigerian brother that worked in our organization. He's a big cat in our healthcare system, and he motivated me. He started
Mm.
talking to me like, "Hey, you need to get your head out of your butthole and stop in, investing your time with women." And he basically he talked to me on numerous occasions, and he put that fire in me. And that's when I called Jennifer 5 years after, because Jennifer
Wow.
kept at it. Yeah, I said, Jennifer, I'm ready. She's like, are you sure? I said, I'm
Yeah.
ready to go. She said, when do you want to go? She said, okay, just go online, put in the application, call her. So I put in the application, and this was in December of 2018. I put in the application in December of 2018. She enrolled me, because I still had 22 months of GI Bill left. I was gonna use it because I still have my
Oh,
GI Bill left, and I
wow.
couldn't even transfer it to my kids. I know. I think Donald Trump had come into power and changed the law, so I could have transferred it to my kids. But then I'm like, it's only 22 months, and I have this number of kids. I can transfer it to them equal, so I might as well just use them and elevate myself, so that way I'm able to take care of them. That's the way I saw
Mm.
it. So I
Oh,
went ahead and told her. So I went ahead and told her, sign me up. And I thought I was a veteran, my DD 214 and everything. So I got the whole veteran military benefits and everything. And I started in March of 2019. And even during the application, I was wondering what I would do, whether I should stick to healthcare because I was working for the VA healthcare system, or I should just
mm.
stick to business. I wanted to stick to business, but then I'm like, man, I already have an MBA. I started weighing on it. I already have an MBA. Do I need to get the DBA? I already have an MBA. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick to something that is close to healthcare administration. So they didn't really have, like, some schools have doctorate in healthcare administration, which is DHA, but
Yeah.
this school doesn't have that program. They have organization leadership, and they have different emphasis. So that kind of um enticed me because I want to be in leadership position, and not leadership position like a title, like I'm the vice president of this or the CFO of that. It does help you to get positions like that, but my kind of leadership is more of, even if I'm like a middle manager, how do I get people to do what they otherwise wouldn't do? That's what leadership is.
Like
And
effecting change within your domain.
yeah, yes, managing people, not managing, because there's difference between management and leadership. It's just basically, I've always seen myself as a transformative leader. I like being transformative, but in my mind, that appeals to me. But I'm more of a situational leader.
Okay.
That's where I was asking the question the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why you're laughing.
Mhm.
I'm more of a situational leader, and it's because most of my opportunities for leadership has been situational.
Okay.
So uh, I'm like, you know what? I like that leadership thing because I want to see myself teaching, coaching, and mentoring,
Mm.
and getting people motivated. I saw myself in that light, and um, so I signed up for organizational leadership with emphasis in healthcare administration,
Mm.
and it was tough. They didn't they enrolled me, but they didn't enroll me like in the introduction course. They threw me straight into the fire with some hard course, and I struggled. I got a B plus. I almost failed that class, man. Because if you get anything less than a B, you fail that class. You have to repeat. You can't get
Mm.
less than a B in a PhD class in my school. I don't know about other
Mm.
schools. You have to get a B and above. If you get a C, you have to repeat. And
Wow.
I was able to get a B plus because you know, I'm still trying to immerse myself in the whole journey system. And just to answer your question, it took me 5 minutes to answer this question because it's really
No,
passionate.
no,
Yeah,
and
because
that's good. And I
you
just
know,
want to say, Professor Ruff, what a beautiful that's so inspirational to see the impact that your father has had on you, both directly and indirectly, and how
yes,
that has followed you throughout your life since you were 11 years old. I mean, that's amazing. And
yeah,
you took initiative when you didn't have a particular military occupational specialty. You you saw one that you had an interest in, and you were able to get permission to go to Chicago to get the training, and um, became a corpsman.
actually, I had to earn my way to Chicago. It wasn't free. It
Mm,
wasn't given to me. Yeah, I had to do 15 months on deck as a deck seaman. The deck seaman is a
mm,
deckhand. You're basically used as whatever. You're like the boss boy in a restaurant. That's how they treat you. It's
mm,
really, I humbled. But it take a lot of humility and humbleness to get through that because I knew where the goal was. I was depressed a lot. I was
mm.
angry a lot. I had like some anger management issues, which I'm way better now. At that, just so people know, because people that grew up with me will tell you that, man, this, I'm hot and fiery. Like you gave me that.
Like a Scotch bonnet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, I end my way. They didn't want me. They wanted to keep me on the ship. I threatened legal action against the ship.
Mm,
That was when they let me. They were able to prepare my. I told them that if I get to San Diego, I don't see my paper to go to A school in Chicago. I was going to file legal action against the ship and the Navy, and I would have won because I
oh,
met all terms and conditions of my contract. So at that point, they were in violation of my contract. I had a copy of my contract. Anytime I go on deployment, I took a copy of my contract to me.
wow.
I was that smart. Yeah, I took a copy of my contract and my passport with me.
You said your passport.
Yes, just in case I need to fly out from any country. Yeah, I didn't play with these people.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't play with these people, man. So anyway, not to cut you off, I just wanted to say that
Yeah, no, but it's
anything
just
that
a
I have,
beautiful.
I worked for it. Nobody gave me nothing. I worked my butt off, and because of focus, dedication, and commitment, and that's the theme of our discussion. I'm sorry, keep going. I'm
No,
on fire
no,
tonight.
no. This is good. This is good.
Mm,
So I don't really know a lot about the Navy. I know a little bit, but not a lot. But I
yes,
do know that becoming a hospital corpsman, it's difficult to get into that program. It's very
it's very
competitive.
difficult. It's very competitive. Yep, and
Yeah.
you can lose your life doing the job.
Yeah,
I've lost some.
because
I've lost some good friends.
the Marine Corps, they
Yeah.
don't have a medical side. So the Navy corpsman is like that person for the Marine Corps.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's a huge
Yep.
responsibility.
Yes, and I've lost some good classmates and friends in Afghanistan, and God rest their soul.
Oh,
God rest their soul. But anyway,
yeah. So just wanted to, give kudos because that's
mm,
impressive. Um, and you also shared why you selected the the specialty that you've chosen.
yes,
And it all kind of ties together between the military background, getting the medical training, and
hmm
then joining the military healthcare or the VA healthcare system, which
system,
is
yeah,
tied into the military. And then I
mm-hmm.
think you mentioned organizational leadership of healthcare or something. So it just like your story just kind of all is intertwined. So it's very, very inspirational. Let me,
and I can, not to cut you up. I
yeah.
can add to what you just said is the opportunities that came behind the decisions that I made. Um, I didn't see myself. I didn't know what I was gonna do prior to joining the military. I wanted to just do administrative work. I wanted to be safe as possible and not get into any kind of conflict. But what I learned really fast, regardless of the kind of job you do in the military, the first thing you are is your sailor. Just like in the Marine Corps, you can be a desk guy in the Marine Corps, but you're a rifleman first. That means if they tell you to leave your desk job and go shoot somebody in the in the front lines, that's what you do because that's your job first.
Mm.
And what I also learned in the Navy, just because we're on the ship, doesn't mean that we don't face danger, but we're not in direct conflict like the Army and the Marine Corps are, or the Special Forces are. But what I also learned is just because you're in the Navy or you're in the Air Force, the Army was shot on demand. So what the Army will really do is go to different branches. Like they'll come to the Navy, especially, and they will recruit sailors from the Navy to go with the Army for like a year. And you go to the
Huh.
front lines, and you're side by side with the Army fighting the enemy in the front lines, and a lot of our corpsmen and a lot of our Navy sailors had died with fighting alongside with their Army brothers.
Oh
So
my
don't get
goodness.
it twisted when people are like, well, I'm gonna go to the Navy, I'm gonna go to this Air Force because it's safe. No, because when you raise your hand and you say, I swear to protect all enemies against the United States, foreign and domestic, you actually really swearing with your life. You put your life on the line.
Mm.
But anyway, I just wanted to add that. I said
Yeah,
this with
no,
passion
that's
because anytime I went on deployment, I used to have nervousness and anxiety for like weeks. For weeks, my nerves would be so bad. But the moment we're on deployment, the day we sailing, I'm ready to die. I can like I've put my house in order. If anything were to happen to me, I know what my parents are getting. I know what my brother and my sisters are getting. I know what my kids were getting. You know,
wow.
and I don't even fear death. And I've said this before. I go out there and I there's no fear. And if something were to happen to me and I don't come back home, I made up my mind. And I always tell my people that they should not. They of course they're always afraid. They always want me to come back. But deep down in my mind, I always tell them that hey, if something were to happen to me, they should know that I wasn't afraid.
Wow.
But right now, if they send me to war, I'll be afraid now because that mindset is no longer there. You know what I'm saying? Well, anyway,
That ship
we're going
has
off. We're going.
sailed.
Yeah, we're
That ship
going.
has sailed, right? No pun
We're going
intended.
on tangents. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, derailing your stuff. I think
No.
we should do a part two because I know we got a lot of questions that you want to ask me. So
Yeah. Well, let
you
me
should go
just
ahead
add
and ask the second
one
question, and we can do a
more.
part two.
Okay, I have one more and then we could do the part two.
Okay,
Um, so, this is really good information. And I'm not sure if I told you thank you for your service,
I
but
appreciate you,
thank
and
you for
thank you
your
for your
service.
service too, because you're a
This
veteran
is
yourself.
this is not about me right now. Thanks.
I know. I just want to thank you.
So, Mr. Professor Ruff, if there's someone out there listening that is pondering returning to school,
Yes.
like what type of advice related to time commitment, um, obligations, would you offer? Like, is it possible to work while you're working on your PhD? Like, what recommendations do you have?
Okay. First of all, I knew I was gonna lose a lot of sleep,
Mm,
so I looked at my life. Right. I looked at my late 20s because I actually started being an adult. When I mean being an adult, like living on my own and paying my own bills, like fending for myself, was at 25, and that's when I came back to the United States. I came back to the United States at 25, 20, going on 26, and I went through a rough patch in my life, and I was homeless 3 weeks when I came into the United States. 3 weeks upon my arrival to Los Angeles, I was homeless, and
you didn't have like an arrival destination? I mean, that could be a
I
different.
did, but I don't want to go into that story.
Oh, okay.
Most Nigerians know this kind of story because it happens to a lot of Nigerians that come over here, where they have family members and they come here and the family members switch up on them.
Oh,
Some There's different um nuances and variances in different stories, but it happened to me. I was worried when I was in Nigeria that was going to happen to me, and it did happen to me. But my auntie that I was living with didn't leave me behind, and I love her. We have our differences. I still love my auntie. She has my back. We have our differences on how we see things sometimes. Um, I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk. negative about nobody on this particular podcast, but it made me a stronger person, and that's what really influenced me to even join the military to find a way. Um,
Mm,
one of the things that um, it's not just going back to school. Like I already knew going to do a PhD, even when I was doing my masters, my first masters and my MBA, I would wake up, I would sleep late. Like I've been averaging in the past 3 years. In the past 3 years since I've been doing my PhD, and I did that with my both of my master classes. But in the past 3 years, I've been averaging about 3 to 4 hours of sleep. It has affected. It's aged
Professor
me.
Ruff.
Yes. Can you?
No, I mean I work in the healthcare field, and
Yeah.
that's not good.
I
Um,
know, but I know,
that's
and I want you to listen to me. There's a reason behind it, and I did a Instagram video topic with one of my friend about it. Maybe I'll if I find it, I'll share with you. I get it, I understand, but I had to make up for the lost years, right? From the time that my marriage had failed, I had to start all over because I got homeless again after my ex-wife picked up the kids and bounced. I was homeless again. This was before my move to Boston. I was homeless for a while. Then it took me a while to get on my feet. But what I'm trying to do is soften now. I'm trying to pay the cost upfront, so I don't have to pay the cost later. You know,
mm,
I'm
okay.
not saying, and that's if God gives me long life, inshallah, God see me through to give me good fruitful years ahead of time.
Amen.
Um, so I'm paying the cost up front, and if the cost up front is 3 to 4 hours of sleep, then that's the cost. Is how bad do you want it? And this go back to your commitment and dedication piece, which is the theme of this show. How bad
Hmm.
do you want it? Number one. Number two, what is the reason? Do you have any reason and motivation to get what you want? You can't just go to school because it's appealing. You can't just go get a PhD because somebody got it and it just sounds, nice next to your name, or bragging right. Being Having a PhD or going through the PhD is not even having the degree; it's going through the process.
Mm,
you know any person that has a PhD is not the gown and the cap and the smiley face on the pictures and the placards on the wall. It's the process. The process is invaluable, and I've gone through the process.
wow.
And a friend of mine in Sacramento, we were co-workers in Sacramento. He knew I was in the PhD program, so he was like, "I want to do a PhD." And I tried to ask him, "Okay, that's good, but why?" He said,
Right.
"Well, I'm trying to see how I can affect organizational change." You know how many people that I've asked why they're doing a PhD, and the first thing they say is, "I want to see how I can make a difference in their organization." You don't need a PhD for that. You don't need a
True.
PhD to affect organizational change. I'm sorry. The people
Well,
out there, well,
I kind of I don't want to interrupt, but
no,
I
no, we can
almost feel as
disagree.
if I almost feel like if you want your voice heard, you need that heavy weight behind your name to be able to have your voice be heard.
Mm,
So many people feel that they need that advanced degree
not
in order.
necessary. Not necessary. I disagree. You can have a high school degree, or you can have a associate degree and still affect organizational change.
No, I mean, yes, the end result can be the same, but in terms of the weight behind people listening to you, it's greater. Like if Dr.
Yeah.
Ruff
Okay. If you,
versus Mr. Ruff is presenting to an
it does
organizational
it does
leader.
solidify you as far as expertise, as far as that's your field. It gives your audience some form of trust. Like, okay, this
Right.
guy is in that field. I get that part, and I'm not
Subject
arguing
matter
that part.
expert. Right.
I'm not arguing that part. But we're talking about what's the reason, though.
Hmm.
So for him, and if he ever watches this video on my Instagram, I'm not gonna mention his name. He probably knows it's him. He wanted to affect his department. I'm like, to me, maybe to me. So let me just lower it down and not be dismissive. To me, that's not enough
Mm.
because you need passion. You need some kind of passion to do this PhD program. And if you just say, "Well, I'm doing it just to affect organizational day," where's the passion?
Right.
Because the passion will lead you through your normal core classes and to lead you through your dissertation research.
Mm.
I'm passionate on my research that I'm doing right now. And the research that I'm doing right now is influence of individual mindfulness training
Mm.
on cultivating team mindfulness. See, that alone, the average man is not going to understand what I just said
Mm.
unless I start breaking it down. And how I'm breaking it down is I'm looking at how healthcare leaders, because this is from a healthcare leader's perspective, I'm looking at how healthcare leaders can use their mindfulness training to cultivate team mindfulness to reduce anxiety, stress, burnout, turnovers, increase patient engagement, employee well being, patient satisfaction, high quality medical care. I just gave you my whole reasons why I'm doing it.
Mm.
Now, does that can that affect organizational change? Yes, if the organization see it as value, but a PhD is not to affect organization change. A PhD is to add knowledge to what does not exist. Nobody has done this study before.
Okay.
Nobody in the world, to my knowledge, has done this study before. This study was crafted through the tensions and the gaps from the literature. When I read individual mindfulness, when I read about mindfulness in healthcare organization and how leaders, even in the present COVID-19 environment. So I drew my topic from there,
Huh.
and my topic was formulated by five scholars, five literature pieces. So
Mm.
nobody has ever studied my topic before. So I'm adding knowledge to the field. So that's the reason. That should be one of the reasons you're doing a PhD. It's not to affect organizational change.
You know, it's so deep. And again, this will lead to a different podcast, but people that are in the nursing field tend to do the DNP, which is like
Mm-hmm,
the doctorate in nursing practice.
mm-hmm,
And the DNP, they pretty much translate research. So the work that you, Professor Ruff, do, they
mm-hmm,
translate research into practice. So the PhD workers or recipients,
mm-hmm.
they create the research, and the DNPs, they are responsible for
So
translating that research into practice.
implementing and observing.
Yes.
You see, that's it's still adding knowledge. It's still adding knowledge because you're verifying if the because the research, every research is based on a theoretical foundation, right?
Uh huh.
So my research, mindfulness, cultivating, the perception of each healthcare leader, how they cultivating mindfulness, is based on how they role model their mindful attitude and characteristics on their employees. Does their
Mm-hmm.
employees learn by their leaders leading by example? There's a theory called modeling and role modeling by Erickson. Actually,
Okay.
our father is three nurses, but Erickson is the main person that I can figure in my head. But it was actually propagated by our father, but she expanded on the theory. So I
Okay.
used that theory to undergird my research to say that, hey, healthcare leaders, in their attempt to reduce stress, burnout, anxiety, high turnovers, especially in COVID-19 scenario right now, is
Mm-hmm.
they can role model themselves mindfully and by showing their knowledge in mindfulness training and self-care training so that their employees can learn it so that when they come to work everybody is at the present moment doing their work. They're not worried about yesterday or they're not worried
Mm-hmm.
about in the future. It's the present moment that matters. That's the Oh, I can't wait to defend my stuff, man.
Oh, that's good. That's
I can't
good.
wait to defend my stuff. I can't wait. I had a setback and I'm coming up. So I really want to continue this discussion in part two because I think I
Yeah,
took.
we're
Yeah,
approaching 45 minutes. But
yeah.
this
So
was so good, Professor Ruff. Like, this was a
yeah,
great intro. So
I can't
this
wait to
will,
defend it. Yeah, I can. I
mhm.
can. I'm too passionate, man. I'm getting triggered.
And you need, and
Oh
no,
man.
that's good. You need that passion. When
Yeah,
someone is passionate about the work that they do, that's amazing. But
yeah. So
thank you so much for inviting me. And taking the time to answer these questions. And this was just a prelude to the real, upcoming show. So yeah, this was
we'll
good.
do a
So
part two. We'll do a part two.
definitely, definitely.
So um,
Uh,
so um, we'll be doing a part two. We don't want this segment to be too long and too
right.
boring, and so we will come back with the part two. So Professor Ruff and Jewel will see you in the next video, and we are out on this broadcast.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.